please join me in Gasho. The right Dharma is indeed something wonderful, transcending things of this world. Let us, therefore, feel no hesitancy in listening to it and reflecting on it. Namo Amida Butsu. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
It's very nice to be with you again today, and thank you to Ted, of course, for chairing our service, that wonderful reading that he shared, and Sandy, our pianist. The topic I would like to explore with you today is hearing and reflecting. The Japanese term for it is mon-shi, to hear and to think. That would be hearing the Dharma and engaging in self-reflection. Many of you do this type of hearing and reflecting quite often. It means listening to or reading a Dharma message and taking the words to heart, thinking about how the teaching applies in everyday life. To hear, in this sense, is taken broadly. It includes reading words, seeing images, or even calling up Dharma memories. Hearing and reflecting can help us to become less reactive when things don't go our way. We may become better able to sympathize with so-and-so who may have annoyed us. That is, hearing and reflecting at the practical level. You might recall Reverend Harada discussing this way of approaching Buddhism. The practical level includes the ethical aspect of the teachings. Every form of Buddhism around the world acknowledges and promotes the ethical aspect for Buddhist followers. It is not specific to our own tradition of Shin Buddhism. Let me now talk about hearing and reflecting in a way that is specific to Jodo Shinshu. Shinran, who lived 8 centuries ago, is the person depicted here, and he's also on the scroll right behind me. We regard him as the founder of Shin Buddhism. He had a special way to understand hearing and reflecting, and it may be less familiar than the practical or ethical approach that I mentioned a moment ago. First, let me ask a question. What appears on the cover of the Shin Buddhist service book there in the pews? You can pick one up. What do you see there? Anybody know what that is?
Namo Amida Butsu.
Some of you have recognized it. This is the Myogo, or name of Amida Buddha. This is a combination of 6 Chinese characters that do not form a grammatical sentence in Chinese or Japanese. It is the sounding out of a Sanskrit phrase, the syllables of which are Namo Amida Butsu, in 6 characters. The basic English rendering, and you could come up with your own rendering, but this is the one I like. Take refuge in limitless wisdom, or more simply, you there, wake up. Namo Amida Butsu. In Shin Buddhism, the focus of our hearing and reflecting is this command, wake up. Approaching Buddhism in this way is what Reverend Harada calls the truth level. Namo Amida Butsu goes beyond the practical or ethical level. The truth level deals with existential questions, such as, what am I? Or what is life and death? These questions have no fixed answer. We can regard Namo Amida Butsu as a command, but who or what is commanding us? Think about that for a moment. Where does this command come from? Shinran says that the word Namo, the first part of the Myogo, Namo is the command of the Buddha's vow, calling to and summoning us. To understand what he means, the Buddha's vow, calling to and summoning us, to understand what he means by that, we need to consider the word Dharma. We use the word in 2 distinct ways. Dharma, as I think you all know, refers, first of all, to instructions given by the historical Buddha. Teachings like the First Noble Truth, that the human condition is unsatisfying or sorrowful. Gautama Buddha gave many such teachings to his disciples. In some forms of Buddhism, that is the principal meaning of the word Dharma, namely Gautama's instructions. There is, however, a second way in which the word is used, particularly in Mahayana Buddhism. Here, the Dharma refers to something beyond any words and concepts, which, for lack of a better term, we might call limitless reality or true reality. That is the Dharma. Now, if those phrases sound too lofty, you might prefer the Buddhist word suchness, or, and this is a favorite of mine, Stephen Batchelor's phrase, the everyday sublime. The everyday sublime. Even something as common as a blade of grass or a drop of water is really beyond our powers of description. That is the Dharma in the second sense. You could also say that the Dharma is limitless wisdom and compassion, the spiritual qualities that Amida Buddha symbolizes. Now we, as foolish beings, do not possess limitless wisdom and compassion. Generally speaking, we are ignorant of their existence, ignorant of the Dharma, of the everyday sublime. Yet, deeply hidden within us is a spiritual aspiration, the desire to awaken to the Dharma, to become aware of limitless wisdom and compassion. That is the basic aspiration in Mahayana Buddhism. How can we awaken to the Dharma? It is by hearing and reflecting, the topic for today. According to Shinran, hear means to hear the Buddha's vow and be free of doubt. Further, it indicates Shinjin. That is a word that means awakening in Shin Buddhism. So for him, hearing is crucial. To followers of other traditions, the Shin Buddhist approach might seem inadequate. It sounds suspiciously easy. Compare it with Zen, for instance. In Zen, practitioners of superior ability can directly apprehend the Dharma through silent meditation. In this way, they realize satori, or voiceless and formless truth. I'm acquainted with someone who is a dedicated Soto Zen practitioner. He attends week-long retreats that are described as having no toys. That means that the participants just sit in contemplation for many hours a day. There are no Dharma talks or rituals. By contrast, Shin Buddhism shares the Dharma using words and images, just as we are doing here today. Is that really sufficient? We are taught that it is. Shinran discovered that hearing and reflecting is the only effective approach for people who lack practical abilities. Nevertheless, it would be a mistake to regard it as easy. Here at the temple, we have two basic ways to express the inexpressible, that is, limitless reality, the everyday sublime. The two ways that we have are words and images. The Dharma is represented verbally in the syllables of Namo Amida Butsu, or visibly in the human-like figure of Amida Buddha on the altar. Let me show you some more images. These are historical, the kind that Shinran would have been familiar with. The seated figure on the left represents the 5 Kalpa meditation, during which Amida contemplated the vows. That's the story in our sutra. The walking figure on the right represents Amida coming to welcome followers who are at the point of death. In each case, if you look very closely, Amida is either sitting or standing on a lotus pedestal. Okay, so lotus pedestal here, and these are lotus pedestals here. And these are two of the bodhisattvas that accompany Amida. So, excuse me. Yes, Shinran was certainly familiar with images such as these, yet he took the radical step of turning away from the use of such figures. He was the first Pure Land teacher to place on the altar a scroll with just the myogo in Chinese characters, no human-like image. And I've got here, this is a small scroll, suitable for use in a home altar. And like the one on the slide, it shows the 6-character name hovering over a lotus pedestal. The myogo itself is the focus of reverence for Shinran. Now here's a scroll with the 6-character name in Shinran's own hand. I think it's wonderful to see something like that from 800 years ago. And I really like his calligraphy. Here's another that he wrote, in which Namo Amida Butsu is translated into a grammatical Chinese sentence. And this one is called the 10-character name. Rather than a statue or painting depicting a human-like image, Shinran preferred the written name in its imperative aspect. Take refuge. You there, wake up. However, an Amida image is effective for many people, and so most Shin Buddhist temples, like Vista, have a painting or statue on the altar as the focus of reverence. An image is just fine for us, but also be mindful of what's written on the cover of the service book. Thinking more about words now, we do a lot of reciting and chanting of Namo Amida Butsu. Let's consider why we recite and chant. Shinran emphasizes hearing and reflecting on the meaning. Unreflective or automatic recitation is de-emphasized. Some other forms of Eastern religion you may be aware of, they include the recitation of mystical sounds that are untranslatable, in other words, mantras. The sounds of a mantra are believed to carry special powers. But I would say Shinran did not conceive of the myogo in that manner. Liberation is through the condition of hearing and reflecting, remember, reflecting on the meaning of Namo Amida Butsu, rather than through the power of vocalizing the sounds to bring about a result. Shinran's teaching is based on passages from the larger sutra, such as this one. He says, or actually this is from the sutra, but he quotes it, of course. The power of the Buddha's vow is such that those who, hearing the name, aspire for birth, all reach that land, their attainment of non-retrogression coming about of itself. So I'll try to unpack that at least a little bit. Birth in Amida's land, that's mentioned here. Non-retrogression. These are really technical terms for Shin Buddhist awakening, or Shinji, which I mentioned before, which of course takes place here and now. This was a sharp break from the religious views that prevailed in Shinran's day, which held that the effort of reciting the name would cause Amida Buddha to welcome the practitioner to the Pure Land at the hour of death. By contrast, Shinran recognized that he was incapable of any religious practice that would be the cause of his liberation. He states here that Namo Amida Butsu is neither a religious practice nor a good act on the part of the practitioner. We have trouble wrapping our minds around that. It's neither a religious practice nor a good act on the part of the practitioner. In other words, it's coming from outside of us. It's coming from outside of us, and we are hearing and reflecting on it. The larger sutra showed Shinran the path of hearing the name and reflecting upon its meaning, a path that does not rely on self-conceived efforts to become worthy of Amida's welcoming. There is nothing that one has to achieve. In hearing and reflecting, thankfully, we are not in competition with anyone else. According to Shinran, if one hears the name but does not understand its significance, then there is imperfect realization of hearing. That is his term. Hearing must be accompanied by searching or self-examination, i.e. one must hear and reflect. So that self-examination will take place, he made a point of expressing the name in Chinese or Japanese that was more immediately understandable than the Sanskrit phrase, Namo Amida Butsu. In fact, all of his writings, I would say, amount to the translation and unfolding of Namo Amida Butsu. So here's an example of what the Myogo meant to Shinran. Of course, he wrote this in Chinese sentences. Now it's here in English. In the Buddha of immeasurable life, take refuge. In the light that surpasses all thoughts or ideas, take refuge. Some of you might recognize, those are the first two lines of Shoshin-ge, which we sometimes chant. Kimyo Muryo Ju Nyorai Namo Fukashi Iko. In gaining familiarity with Shinran's writings, we are able to reflect on the deep layers of meaning in the command, take refuge in limitless wisdom. Join me in Gasho. The right Dharma is indeed something wonderful, transcending things of this world. Let us therefore feel no hesitancy in listening to it and reflecting on it. Namo Amida Butsu. Naman Dautsu. Naman Dautsu.